Episode 11, The Lying Bat and the Winged Demon. Following Dennis' instructions, Ethan came to their most important and only property. A small brown suitcase that looked no different from the suitcases in the Muggle world. At Ethan's signal, Dennis and the others opened the suitcase and got into it with Kipling's body. After making sure there were no accidents, Ethan entered. The area was really large. If football fields were used as the unit of measurement, it was about the area of 3 football fields. It was just a little shabby, with only a small pond, a few large iron cages, a square house made of stone, and the rest was all muddy ground. Under the leadership of Dennis, several people came to the stone house. After seeing the situation inside, Ethan's expression immediately changed. There were all creatures similar to mice inside. They were not big, but each mouse had an anemone-like tumor on its back, which gave people a sense of discomfort, and there were really a lot of mice. At the first glance, Ethan knew what it was. In the book Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, there is a magical animal native to Britain, the Murtra rat. The magic part is XX. The tumor on the back of the Murtra rat is also a good thing. After pickling and eating, it can enhance resistance to evil spells and bad luck for a period of time. The level of magical animals is divided into 5 categories according to the magic part. X, it is annoying. XX, harmless or tameable. XXX, capable wizards can deal with it. XXXX, dangerous, requires specialized knowledge and skilled wizards can deal with it. XXXXX, animals known to kill wizards, animals that cannot be domesticated or tamed, newt. You are F***************** G bullshit. Why do you keep so many Murtra rats? Ethan asked with some curiosity. Although the tumor on the back of this thing has some value, the price is not high. Because there are many and they reproduce quickly, you can grab a lot in the place of origin, and the price cannot be raised at all. These Murtra rats will die soon after the tumors on their backs are removed. While they are still alive, they can be used as food for other animals. Some magical animals only eat live food. This is a really good idea. Murtra rats have strong reproductive capacity and are omnivorous. They eat everything. After the tumor on their backs is removed, the tumor can be sold, and the rats that can't survive can be used as feed directly, completing the waste utilization. Leaving the stone house, it is the Murtra rat farm. What you see is a huge iron cage. No, there is one that is different. It looks like a completely enclosed plastic, but it is unknown what material it is made of. There is a pile of black stuff on the ground inside, which looks like randomly discarded garbage. What is this? Ethan found that he didn't recognize this thing. This is a Voldemort, but it's not in good condition. We haven't found a suitable buyer, and we don't know the Patronus, so we can only keep it locked up like this. It looks like it's starving to death. Dennis explained in a low voice that they didn't dare to leave Nocturne Alley, so naturally they didn't dare to do business in those wizard taverns. It's impossible to sell this Nocturne Alley Voldemort. Who would dare to take it if they don't know the Patronus? Forgive Ethan for his lack of knowledge. Magical animals like Voldemort didn't appear in the movie, and this black thing on the ground doesn't look like a cloak. But it's starving to death, and Ethan can't do anything about it. He doesn't know the Patronus and really doesn't dare to open the cage. This is a flying winged demon, but this one is not yet an adult. Dennis took the initiative to introduce Ethan to the next cage. Before the accident, the members of the Fly family were interested in this winged demon, but the price was not agreed upon during the transaction. The winged demon, Ethan knew, was like a combination of a butterfly and a bat. It was blue-green in color and liked to eat brains. Its venom was very dangerous, but it could erase memory after dilution. I have to say that the winged demon looked pretty. This one is not yet an adult, maybe it can be tamed. As for the Ministry of Magic saying that XXXXX level can't be tamed, just take it as a fart. Bring some food for the winged demon. Ethan wanted to feed them himself to see if he could develop some feelings for them. After receiving Ethan's order, Dennis came to the Murtra rat farm, skillfully summoned Murtra rat with the flying spell, and then used the spell to cut off the tumor on its back. The whole process was done in one go. After dealing with more than 10 rats in total, Dennis came to Ethan. He pinched the Murtra rat's tail with disgust and threw them one by one into the cage that held the winged demon. The winged demon, which received the food, grabbed the Murtra rat tightly with a pair of claws, and the next moment bit its head and sucked it. 4 or 5 seconds later, the winged demon threw the Murtra rat out of the cage, staring at the ones floating around Dennis. It eats really fast, Ethan thought as he continued to feed it. The winged demon should be able to shrink into a palm-sized shelled egg, so this cage can't hold it, right? Faced with Ethan's doubts, Dennis patiently explained. It's not the cage that trapped it, but the collar on its neck, which limits its ability to change its magic. Nodding to show that he understood, Ethan was ready to continue reading. I don't know what other surprises are waiting for me. But Dennis told me that the cages in the back were all empty. There were some magical animals such as Billywig, Moonbeast, and Evil Bird. It's just that they've been sold at a low price during this period. Large and rare magical animals are not easy to sell, but for such small and cheap magical animals, there is still a market in Nocturne Alley. Episode 12, New Achievements. More than 3,700 gold galleons. As expected, all the money earned is written in the criminal law. Among them, only one layer belongs to Dennis and his team, and the rest need to be handed over. However, in the current situation, the entire organization dares not contact each other, let alone hand it over. After all, who knows whether the person who is contacting now is one of their own people, or the Ministry of Magic is stinging and enforcing the law. Putting away the gold galleons, Ethan turned his eyes to the panel. When he used the killing curse and fed the winged demon just now, there was a reminder of the achievement. First Blood. Killing innocent lives, you can't turn back on the dark road, and you can only go to the end. Achievement goal, kill the wizard, 1/1. Achievement reward, a random magic. Shit shoveler. Hungry, shit shoveler, where are you? Your master's belly is hungry. Achievement goal, feed magical animals, 1/1. Achievement reward, talent, animal affinity, also effective for magical animals. This reward is good. If the effect of animal affinity is used well, its power cannot be underestimated. Someone has proved this before. The magic that was drawn was auxiliary, and the functionality was pretty good. Shadow Stealth, a magic that had never been heard of in the original book. The specific effect was to sneak into the shadow to avoid enemy attacks and to move quickly in the shadow. Ethan experimented on the spot. In the light, Ethan turned into a dark shadow on the spot and could move, but the speed was about the same as his body. However, once he came to the shadow that Ethan turned into could shuttle freely in the shadow, and Ethan was in an imperceptible situation during this process. Although there are limitations, in a sense, it can also be regarded as a life-saving skill. After several experiments, Ethan came to the cage of the winged demon again. The winged demon, which had ignored Ethan after eating, now stared at Ethan with a pair of small eyes and approached Ethan. Intuition told Ethan that this winged demon would not hurt him. Slowly putting his hand into the cage, the winged demon that was waiting there squinted its eyes and rubbed its fancy head on Ethan's palm, revealing an expression of enjoyment. Dennis, open the door. Yes. Having been hit by the soul-taking curse, Dennis completely obeyed Ethan's orders unconditionally, without thinking whether the order was reasonable or not. And at the moment when Dennis opened the cage, a blurry black shadow rushed out instantly. It was too close, and Ethan didn't react at all, and the black shadow stuck to Ethan's face. In the vision of Dennis and the other two, they saw that the winged demon was spreading a pair of wings with spikes on the edges, wrapping Ethan's head tightly. This is the standard posture of the winged demon hunting. It rushes to the head of the prey at an extremely fast speed, and then pierces the skull of the prey with a pair of sharp fangs, while injecting venom and sucking the brain of the prey. But Ethan did not fall down like the prey that were ripped open by the winged demon. Instead, he struggled to grab the winged demon's body with both hands and pulled it out. Snap. After wasting a lot of effort, the winged demon was finally pulled down by Ethan. Ethan was really scared just now, but fortunately the winged demon didn't show its teeth, just hugged him. Maybe this is its way of expressing love, but this way is unacceptable to most people. The winged demon held in his hand was still chirping and trying to get closer to Ethan. After comforting it for a long time, Ethan finally calmed the winged demon and took off the collar from its neck. Now the winged demon has turned into a small chitin ball, and its tail is wrapped around Ethan's arm like a pendant. With this experience, Ethan opened the cage that held the bat. This bat was not as radical as the winged demon. It just rubbed against Ethan's feet, then raised its head and looked at Ethan with two faint lights in its dark and empty head. Ethan remembered that this thing seemed to have been hungry for a long time. He immediately threw the mortar rat whose brain had just been sucked by the winged demon and the wizard's body that Ethan had eaten to death to the Voldemort. In just a moment, Both the body of the mortar rat and the wizard's body disappeared, leaving only the Voldemort a little thicker. The Voldemort, as if full, slowly moved its body and climbed up along Ethan's feet until it reached the shoulder, then stopped moving, stretched out its body, and fixed itself. From the perspective of others, Ethan was just wearing a black cloak, but he couldn't open his hood, otherwise he would see a pair of dark eyes in the hood. "Dennis, bring the mortar rat feed." Ethan, with the Voldemort behind him and the winged demon hanging on his arm, came to the top of the mortar rat breeding farm and looked at the mortar rats that were rushing to him one after another, and his scalp was numb. This animal affinity doesn't seem to be all good. Who made the wizarding world have many disgusting magical animals, such as Hagrid's blasting-tailed Scroots in the later period? If such things stick to me, I will not be able to live. Without thinking about these goosebumps, Ethan directly dumped the feed brought back by Dennis and others into the mortar rat farm. There are all kinds of things in it, strange pieces of meat and bones, broken shells, corn, potatoes, and so on, and even Ethan saw mortar rats cut into several pieces. Just feeding a magical animal, an achievement was brushed out. Now there are hundreds of mortar rats, and brushing another one should not be a problem. For these achievements that can be seen, Ethan always keeps the idea of brushing them as soon as possible. Don't regret when you are not strong enough at the critical moment. Why didn't you brush more achievements at the beginning, or cram at the last minute, and run to brush them at the last moment? Isn't it here? Master of fantastic beasts. Flying in the sky, running on the ground, swimming in the water. I have fed everything. Just ask me questions about them. How? No. What do they eat? I know it clearly. Achievement goal: feed enough magical animals. 100. Achievement reward: magical animal energy cube. Here it comes, but this energy cube makes Ethan feel like he has seen a little idiot. After accepting the reward, Ethan found that this so-called energy cube is a magic potion. And this energy cube is not a fixed formula, but a large piece of knowledge, as if several books were stuffed into Ethan's brain. Energy cubes made of different materials are suitable for various magical animals of different ages. The main function is to promote development and improve strength and potential. Episode 13. The Mark of the Demon. Now the achievement has been cleared, the gold galleons have been earned, and 2 magical animals have been picked up. But what about these 3 wizards and these mortar rats? The Imperious Curse cannot last forever. If you want to control them for a long time, you must reapply it at intervals. Otherwise, when the magic effect disappears, they will regain consciousness. Ethan will go to Hogwarts in a month, and he definitely doesn't want to take them and these mortar rats with him. Kill them? Let's see what their reaction will be after they wake up. But first, we have to confiscate their wands and some magic props. Waving his hand, Ethan lifted the Imperious Curse on several people. The few people who suddenly woke up were still a little at a loss, but the moment they saw Ethan, they took 2 steps back as if they saw a ghost, with horror on their faces. Before Ethan could say anything, Dennis and the other 2 knelt down on the ground in tacit understanding and begged Ethan to let them go. The memory of the period of time under the Imperious Curse has not been erased. Whether it is the silent use of the Imperious Curse to control the 3 of them, or the wandless spell to kill Kipling, these operations are simply not dared to dream of themselves. But all this was done by a little wizard. Later, he tamed the Voldemort and the winged demon. What can they use to fight? Even if they want to fight, they must have a wand. Now the wand has been confiscated. In addition to kneeling and begging, they can't think of any other way to survive. As for revenge for Spring, everyone is a dark wizard. Can you not be so naive? In this case, you will follow me in the future. After a little thought, Ethan said so. It should be an achievement to have little brothers, although they will not really submit to themselves, and they will most likely run away as soon as they are out of danger. Yes, I am willing. From now on, my lord, I will be your loyal servant. As Dennis and the other 2 knelt and crawled in front of Ethan, and were about to kiss Ethan's shoes to show complete obedience. He also mentioned the names of the 3 and the magic they were good at. Dennis Gar, Berkeley Andrew, and Don Jeff, their magic skills were average, a little bit better than normal adult wizards. They knew the 3 unforgivable spells, and the most used one was the Killing Curse. They were not proficient in the remaining 2, just to the extent of knowing them. They had some knowledge of other dark magics and knew the conventional spells. Unlike Ethan's idea, Dennis and the other 2 thought that it was actually not bad to follow Ethan. Although he was young, he was strong. In this era when Voldemort died and Dumbledore was old, Ethan was simply a legend of the next era, and this time would not be too long. It was really an honor for me and others to be able to follow such a wizard, and I might even have a record of myself in the history of magic. Faced with the actions of the three, Ethan did not refuse. Foundation. A little bit of sand makes a tower. You have finally taken the first step, no longer choosing to fight alone. Achievement goal. Have a subordinate, 1/1. Achievement reward. Magic, Mark of the Demon. This is the first time I have seen a designated magic reward instead of a random one. As Ethan absorbed and understood the information, he finally understood what this magic was about. Another auxiliary magic. Mark of the Demon. Plant a magic mark on the target. This mark cannot be erased. The marks can sense each other and can sense the exact location of all reporters with the black star mark and summon them to complete the gathering according to the guidance of the mark. This looks like a replica of Voldemort's dark mark, and the functions are similar. Raise your head. Yes. Facing Ethan's order, Dennis did not dare to neglect it. But the next second, Dennis's face changed suddenly, and he saw an extra-long magic wand pointing at his head. He still wants to kill me? This was Dennis' first reaction. But he soon gave up the idea, because the other party didn't need a magic wand to kill him. Before he could figure out the meaning of Ethan's move, he felt a gloomy and cold magic flow into his body along his forehead and mixed with the magic in his body until it stopped at the chest. For the other two, Ethan did the same. This magic is called the Mark of the Henchman. No matter where you are, I can find you based on this magic and activate it to guide you to reunite. After doing all this, Ethan explained to the three people. Master, we will never betray you. Yes, Master, we are sincere. Stop, don't call me Master, just call me Boss. Ethan interrupted the three people's loyalty. The Master is exactly Voldemort's déjà vu. Originally, this so-called Mark of the Henchman was like Voldemort's dark mark. If they were allowed to call themselves Master and were good at using dark magic, especially the unforgivable curse, at this stage when Voldemort has not yet resurrected, it might give people the idea that Ethan is Voldemort's reincarnation. Then Ethan began to ask the three people about their next plans and how to deal with their poaching organization. Accepting three younger brothers is to assign tasks to them, not to clean up their asses. If their so-called poaching organization recovers and starts to investigate, Ethan is not afraid, but it will be a bit troublesome. However, the three have already thought about it. They put all the blame on Kipling. It was Kipling who ran away with all the magical creatures and gold galleons when the three went out to find buyers. There is no evidence, and now the entire organization is out of contact. They are sure that the problem is not only in Britain, but also in other places. It is impossible to deal with such a problem in the end, so it can only be left unresolved. They asked Ethan if he needed to quit the organization, but Ethan said no. There is almost 1 month before school starts, and there is nothing to arrange for them to do. It is better to let them stay in the organization. Maybe they will be useful in the future. The main point is to let them go. After everything was arranged, Ethan took out more than 230 gold galleons and left them. As for the remaining 3,500, of course, they were his spoils. Ethan left the mortar rat and the box with the traceless expansion spell to them, but took away a spare empty box. The space inside the spare box was smaller and empty, but it was enough. When he walked out of the 2-story house, it was already dark. Shadow stealth started. In the shadow of the building, Ethan moved quickly. In just 20 to 30 seconds, Ethan ran out of Nocturne Alley until he found an empty corner in Diagon Alley. Ethan then lifted the magic. When Ethan came out of the leaky cauldron, the driver outside had been waiting anxiously. He had said that he would come out in 2 or 3 hours at most. As a result, it has been more than 5 hours since Ethan went in. Episode 14, Platform 9 3/4. September 1st. In the parking lot of King's Cross Station, Ethan was saying goodbye to his parents with a suitcase. This suitcase was just a cover, with some clothes and a box cast with the traceless stretching spell. The box contained a lot of books, as well as potion materials collected during this period, and miscellaneous items such as the fire dragon brain frozen with the freezing spell and the corpse of the mortar rat. The winged demon and the Voldabat were also carried with him. The winged demon was relatively easy to deal with, just turn it into a ball and put it in Ethan's pocket. This was its dormant form, which existed for camouflage and reduced consumption. It completely lacked the predatory aura that belonged to dangerous magical animals. As long as it was not exposed, outsiders would not know that Ethan had such a thing in his pocket. The fire dragon brain was prepared for it. Under normal circumstances, the winged demon only eats fresh brains of live food, but the fire dragon brain is an exception. It eats this thing very happily even if it is frozen. Moreover, dragon brain is not expensive, cheaper than dragon liver at 16 sickles per ounce. Although this thing contains magic power, it has not been found to have any effect in potions, and the entire wizarding world does not eat brains very much. Voldemort is in trouble. Although this thing looks like a cloak, any wizard with a little knowledge can see what it is. In addition, its notoriety makes it the kind that cannot be exposed at Hogwarts. For this reason, Ethan also specially made a platinum pendant, which is hollow at the bottom. Ethan cast the traceless extension spell on it. Due to its small size, it took a long time to succeed. The space inside is only the size of a room, but it is enough for Voldemort. This extremely small traceless extension spell item is impossible for people to enter because the entrance is too small, but it is just right for Voldemort. With this traceless extension necklace as a cover, Voldemort can also be carried by Ethan. Moreover, in the past month, Ethan has become more and more familiar with the Voldemort. He can control it as a cloak as he wants, as long as the Voldemort cooperates. With one action, the Voldemort automatically puts a hood on Ethan, making Ethan's entire face shrouded in a layer of black mist, but it does not affect his vision, which can perfectly hide all of Ethan's images. Not only that, this Voldemort cloak also has super strong magic resistance, especially for black magic. It can automatically resist some upcoming spells for Ethan. It is definitely the best auxiliary prop. Only the Voldemort is almost untamable, otherwise the Voldemort cloak is definitely a popular existence in the wizarding world. In terms of magic, Ethan is not idle either, especially the brain occlusion is the focus. Of course, this improvement is also obvious. Name: Ethan Adrian. Age: 11. Bloodline: Wizard. Talents: Super Soul. A more powerful soul brings higher learning efficiency and casting speed. Strong body: improve physical fitness and adaptability to magic through exercise. Heart of Darkness: improve black magic talent. Use black magic without any emotional assistance. Focus: greatly improve learning efficiency. Animal Affinity: also effective for magical animals. Spells: Killing Curse 10, Cruciatus Curse 10, Imperious Curse 10, Acclemency 6, Armor Curse 4, Traceless Extension Curse 4, Siphon Energy 4, Shadow Walk 3, Mark of the Demon 2, Transfiguration 2, Petrification Curse 3, Disillusionment Curse 3, Flying Curse 3, Levitation Curse 2, Illumination Curse 2, Shrinking Curse 2, Flame Curse 2. Walking into the station, Ethan followed the sign to the direction of platform 9. But as Ethan walked in, he found that the people around him were wearing more and more strange clothes. Wearing a cotton jacket on top and shorts on the bottom, this kind of explosive outfit is not an exception. There are also big men with full beards on their faces, but they wear long skirts and high heels. It's like this every day, you get used to it. Not only will there be children running to ask where platform 9¾ is, but there are also these guys wearing strange clothes. Is there anything special today? I don't know, does the first day of school count? Listening to the conversation between two station staff members, Ethan rushed over and bumped into a pillar next to them, but the two staff members seemed not to see it and continued to talk about the topic just now. A feeling of squeezing came, and then the vision was widened, but what did he bump into? Looking at the sound, I saw a little girl lying on a pile of gifts. Why is this girl blocking the door? But she still bumped into someone, and Ethan quickly helped her up. He also helped her luggage up. But this guy looks familiar. Big front teeth, it's you. The iconic big front teeth and thick and messy brown hair, Hermione. I have met her once before, so I know her. It turns out that the person who asked the staff where the 9¾ station is just now is her. Hermione, who also recognized Ethan, was about to say hello, but when she heard the 3 words, big front teeth, her face immediately turned black. This name reminded her of some bad memories. Thank you. After thanking her, Hermione held her luggage and walked forward, not wanting to say anything extra. You still remember this? Ethan shook his head and sighed. It has been about 3 years since the multi-school summer camp. Hermione and Ethan were both there. In the evening activity competition, Hermione was the best until Ethan came on stage. Whether it was memory or logic, these areas Hermione was good at were crushed. At the end, Ethan's words, "Don't be sad, at least your front teeth are bigger than mine." The little girl couldn't hold it back at all and cried in front of everyone. But remember it. Ethan, who looked like he didn't care, didn't bother to worry about it and got on the red steam train with his suitcase. Because they came late, many of the carriages they passed were full. This can't be blamed on Ethan, after all. Wizards came directly here with magic, and Ethan had to take a car to travel dozens of kilometers in the morning to get there. After walking all the way to the back half, I found a relatively empty compartment with only a little witch inside. "Excuse me, can I sit in?" The little witch who was reading a book in the compartment looked up and lowered her head again. "If you don't say anything, I'll take it as your consent." After opening the compartment door, Ethan went in directly, put the suitcase on the shelf, and sat down opposite her. Only then did he realize that this person was the one who sat opposite him when he had ice cream at Floren's ice cream shop last time. Episode 15, Cassandra's Declaration. "Can we sit in here?" The door was opened again, and Hermione appeared again, with thick and unkempt brown hair and big front teeth, followed by a round-faced fat boy, who looked a little timid and uneasy. Cassandra didn't even raise her head this time, looking like she didn't care. Ethan could only nod and invite them in. Although the little witch opposite entered the carriage first, according to the rules, anyone has the right to sit in the carriage, and the carriage does not belong to an individual. Looking at Ethan in the carriage, Hermione was a little embarrassed because the meeting just now was not pleasant. But the words were already said, so she could only come in, put away the gifts. Neville sat down next to Ethan, and Hermione sat next to the little witch. Hermione's acquaintance with Neville was also a coincidence. When she asked the staff at the station about platform 9 3/4 and was told that there was no platform, she was a little at a loss. Fortunately, Neville's grandmother brought her in. After entering the platform, Neville was pulled aside by his grandmother to talk about something, while Hermione was still condemning Hogwarts' irresponsibility towards Muggle students at the entrance. After all, who would know how to enter without someone leading the way? But before Hermione left, she was bumped by Ethan, who came from behind. Hermione, who was in a bad mood, walked forward with her luggage and met Neville, who was also saying goodbye to his grandmother. The two found this carriage together. If they had known earlier, they would have walked to the back. The atmosphere was really awkward. Ethan, the little witch, and Hermione were all looking at the magic books in their hands. Only Neville sat timidly aside to reduce his presence. There was no communication throughout the whole process. Neville already regretted following Hermione into this carriage. Even if there were no seats, it would be better to sit on the suitcase in the corridor than to enter this carriage. Your scabby ran out. The quiet of the carriage was broken by Ethan. "What?" Neville turned around and looked at Ethan in a daze, a little at a loss. Even the two little witches opposite raised their heads and looked at Ethan. What the hell was he talking about just now? "Your toad ran out." "Okay," he spoke in dialect in excitement. Ethan took a deep breath, pointed under the table, and repeated it again in words they could understand. Just now, Ethan, who was reading a book, felt something on his shoes. He looked down and found that it was a toad. He felt bad immediately. Sure enough, his animal affinity attracted some bad things. And this thing has a tendency to jump onto Ethan's legs. If he didn't know that this was Neville's pet, Ethan would have kicked it directly. Lifu." Neville shouted in surprise and lowered his head to check the situation. After seeing Lifu squatting on Ethan's feet, Neville immediately leaned down and grabbed him. The toad in Neville's hand was still struggling, desperately wanting Neville's palm. There was no way. Neville could only slam it into his pocket and cover it tightly. Ethan could clearly see the curiosity in Hermione's eyes and the contempt of another little witch. "Why did you bring a toad? Is this popular in the wizarding world?" Hermione finally asked. She wanted to know something about the wizarding world. At present, she only knew about it from books. "No, this is not popular in the wizarding world. He is just an exception." The little witch next to Hermione put down the book to justify the wizarding world. It has always been only wizards who despise muggles, and this fool cannot be allowed to tarnish the reputation of pureblood wizards. She had long recognized who this little fat man was. Among the pureblood families, Neville's reputation was not small, although it was not positive. "Sorry, Lifu is a gift from my uncle when I was 8 years old." Neville recounted his legendary experience, which was the difficult history of awakening magic. He almost died several times, but he succeeded in the end and received the reward of Lifu, the scabby bauble. Hermione was stunned when she heard this. She didn't expect the wizard world to be so wild. Are you sure your uncle gave you a toad because he was happy, not because of other emotions? Ethan was a little curious about this. Although this thing is called a toad in Great Britain, toads are not a good choice as pets. Hogwarts can bring owls, toads, and mice to school, but the main function of toads is that part of their body can be used as medicine, and mice are experimental products for spells and potions. Only a very small number of people really keep them as pets, and the reason why they can bring them is because they are not dangerous. The reason why the Weasley family uses mice as pets is because they are poor and can't afford other pets. If they can afford owls, do you think they want mice? Just like Percy, after becoming a prefect, she was rewarded with an owl and gave the mouse to Ronald on the spot. The Weasley family is poor, but the Longbottom family is not. From the memory ball that Neville's grandmother sent him, it can be seen that this is definitely an expensive alchemical product, and it may even be customized for Neville. I think so. I have been stupid since I was a child. Maybe I will be sent back by Hogwarts this time. Neville fell into an emo state. He always felt very inferior and thought that he had no talent at all. Maybe none of the 4 colleges would want him. Hermione looked at Ethan speechlessly, as if to say, "Look at what you have done." And the other little wizard scratched his hair on his forehead. The glory of the pureblood wizard was about to be defeated by him. "Since you have received the admission notice, you will not be sent back." Ethan still comforted him, of course, this is also the truth. If Neville had not been hit by the forgetfulness spell, he would definitely be an extremely excellent wizard, or the prophecy of the savior, not just Harry alone, but a prophecy for 2 people. Without Neville's sword that killed Nagini at the critical moment, Harry would not have won the final victory. It can be said that both of them are indispensable. Really? Neville perked up a little. Of course, have you ever heard of anyone who failed to enroll after receiving an admission letter? Ethan shrugged and said undeniably. The only person Ethan knew who was expelled from Hogwarts was a squib. He did not receive an admission letter, but broke into Hogwarts on the enrollment day and snatched the sorting hat of other young wizards, but was told by the sorting hat that he had no magical talent and could not become a student of Hogwarts. Neville Longbottom. Facing Ethan, Neville solemnly said his name. Over the years, all the other peers he had come into contact with laughed at and despised him, and only a few could give him kind words of comfort. Ethan Adrian. Ethan also reacted. Hermione Granger. Hermione also said with a smile. Cassandra Wallace, the pride of Slytherin in the future. Cassandra raised her head proudly and swore. Are you a senior from Slytherin? Hermione asked hesitantly. She had always thought that everyone present was of the same age, and based on the knowledge she had learned from wizard books this summer, she did not like Slytherin. No, I am also a freshman this year, but I will definitely go to Slytherin. Cassandra was very sure of this. It turned out to be her. The character in the game, but the era seemed a little wrong. Episode 16, Magic Competition. You were born in a wizard family, so you should have been exposed to magic since childhood. Can you show me how to perform it? Hermione was both looking forward to and afraid of the life in Hogwarts. She has been an excellent student since childhood and has never had any problems in her studies, which has cultivated her strong competitive spirit. The only time she was defeated was at the hands of Ethan. Now Hermione has worked hard to study during this period, and I believe that if she competes again, she will definitely not be worse than Ethan. But in magic, Hermione has no confidence. It is still difficult to learn magic by herself without anyone teaching. In one summer vacation, Hermione only learned 3 spells, namely the Illumination spell, the Unlocking spell, and the Repairing spell. For this reason, she was very worried that she would not be able to keep up with the teaching progress of Hogwarts and be left far behind by those children who grew up in wizard families and become a so-called poor student. Now, since she has the opportunity, she wants to see what level the children who grew up in wizard families are at, so as to make plans for her future study career. Neville stuttered and couldn't speak, not knowing how to answer. He had seen magic and saw it every day, but he really couldn't perform it. Puff. Ethan couldn't help laughing out loud. Hermione followed closely, and Neville was so timid that he couldn't say a word. What are you laughing at? Nothing to laugh at. Ethan spread his hands and put on an innocent look. I'll show you what magic is. Cassandra stood up, although she didn't think much of Neville, and even less of Hermione, a Muggle-born wizard, and didn't even want to communicate too much. But in the final analysis, Cassandra was still an 11-year-old child, and it was a common problem to flaunt and show off her strengths to attract the attention of others. Under the gaze of Ethan and the other two, Cassandra elegantly drew out her wand and pointed it in the air. Flames. As the voice fell, the hot orange-red flame gushed out from the tip of the wand, forming a tiny vortex in the air that lasted for a long time. After doing all this, Cassandra looked in the direction of Ethan with some pride. In her opinion, only Ethan could make her take a second look. Ethan should be born of a half-blood wizard. After all, she knew all the pure-blood wizard families in Great Britain. She had never heard of the surname Adrian. In addition, the last time Ethan bought books, he spent more than 100 gold galleons at a time, which did not conform to the characteristics of a Muggle family. Eliminating all wrong answers, there is only one result. This is the fire spell. I have tried it many times, but it didn't work. Hermione stood up suddenly, staring at Cassandra's fire spell. Sure enough, the students of the wizard family have far surpassed me in progress. Ignoring the excited Hermione, Cassandra still stared at Ethan and said seriously, "What magic have you learned during this time?" It was because of Ethan that she bought extra textbooks for senior grades and studied hard during this period of time, just to surpass Ethan and become the brightest star in Slytherin and even Hogwarts. I just don't know how talented Ethan is. His diligence and hard work can make her pay a little attention, but if he is not talented, he is not qualified to be her opponent at all. Flame. The same magic came out from Ethan's hands, and even the size of the vortex of flame was the same as Cassandra's. Although Ethan did not study the fire spell in depth during this period, can't he learn it just by looking at it? Coupled with good magic control ability and more powerful magic than ordinary little wizards, Ethan can easily reach this step. Even if the proficiency of the fire spell may not be as high as Cassandra, it can achieve the same effect. Ethan, you can do it too? Hermione widened her eyes, feeling a little incredible. Although she lost to Ethan before, now it is magic, which is a brand new track. She didn't expect that she would lose again. Cassandra's mouth curled up slightly. Only this way is interesting. If Ethan is a mediocre person with no talent, it would be really boring. Immediately, Cassandra swung the magic wand in her hand, and the flame in the air seemed to come alive halfway, turning into a fire snake and rushing towards Ethan, as if to swallow Ethan's flame in one gulp. She wanted to tell Ethan in this way that she was the best one. But reality is often cruel. The moment the two fire spells came into contact, Cassandra's began to collapse. Because they were in the carriage, neither of them dared to expand the fire. In the end, Cassandra could only watch Ethan's flames come to about 30 centimeters in front of her before dissipating. Although the form of expression is flame, it still relies on magic. Now there is no burning material, and it is not the immortal flame born in the destructive mood of the fiery spell. The final competition is still the operation of the fire spell and magic. Ethan, we are both born as Muggles and have never been exposed to magic before. How did you do it? It's not shameful to ask if you don't understand. Hermione can only admit that she can't compare to Ethan in both the wizarding world and the Muggle world. We are geniuses, that's it. Ethan said with a face that deserves K. You must have some learning skills, teach me please. In order not to be a bad student and to graduate from Hogwarts smoothly, Hermione decided to go all out. It's also a genius to pick the Muggle world by yourself. Why can't you do it? Hermione can only tell herself that it's just that no one teaches, and she can't master the learning method of wizards. Wait, you said he was born as a Muggle? Cassandra interrupted the conversation between the two and looked at Ethan with some doubt. Yes, I know him. Hermione nodded affirmatively. I lost this competition, but the situation here is not right. I will definitely win next time. As the pride of the family and a genius in other people's mouths, Cassandra does not think that she is inferior to Ethan. If she can let go of the competition, the victory will definitely be hers. Episode 17, Malfoy gets beaten again. Under Hermione's entanglement, Ethan talked about some tricks of performing magic, such as the gestures of waving the wand when chanting spells, how to control the output of magic power, etc. Neville would talk about some things in the wizarding world from time to time, and Ethan and Hermione also had some things they wanted to ask Neville, a local resident of the wizarding world. Cassandra on the side didn't say a word, but still held a book and read it, but from the book that hadn't turned the pages for a long time, it can be seen that her attention was not on the book at the moment. The atmosphere in the car was also getting better. At lunchtime, everyone took out their lunchboxes and bought some food from the salesperson. Everyone was not short of money, and even Hermione still had some gold galleons. Time passed in the idle chat of several people until it got dark. It was just such a short distance, and after sitting in the car for a day, Ethan couldn't chat anymore, and he was a little sleepy looking at the scenery outside the window. It seems that there is a quarrel next door. After a shrill scream. Well, the fight has started now. Do you want to go and see? Ethan instantly perked up. It's human nature to watch the fun. It's better not to go, so as not to cause trouble. What's the trouble? Ethan said as he walked out of the workshop. If you didn't go to see the fun, what's the point of such a life? Cassandra followed Ethan out of the carriage door without saying a word. Hermione followed after a little hesitation. I won't go. Neville sat there motionless. Years of experience told him that he shouldn't go to see the fun, otherwise he might become the fun. When he came to the door of the carriage at the back, he saw 5 people inside, presenting a tense atmosphere. The scream came from a child who looked sorry for the audience, but was quite strong. At this moment, a mouse was hanging on his finger, and its sharp teeth were deeply tightened in his flesh. The child was screaming and waving his hands constantly, trying to shake the mouse off. Except for the unlucky guy who was bitten by a rat, the other people were attracted by Ethan's arrival. Who are you? Get out. The platinum-haired boy with a pale face like a kidney deficiency yelled at Ethan and others who came in from outside. He came here to make friends, but was humiliated and now suffered a loss. He didn't want others to see it. His father is the school director, so what's wrong with him being arrogant? Until he saw Cassandra coming in after Ethan, Draco immediately changed his words. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about the other 2. At the pureblood banquet, the 2 had met more than once, but it was inevitable that the arrogant Draco would have a dispute with the arrogant Cassandra. When they didn't know magic, Draco was beaten, because girls grow up quickly. At the pureblood gathering in August this year, Draco wanted to use the magic he had just learned to get back the place, but he was beaten even more miserably. What's more, although Cassandra's family is not one of the 28 clans, it is also a noble pureblood, no worse than his own family. His father is a school director, and his father is a senior official in the Ministry of Magic. He can't suppress the other party in terms of family background, and he can't beat him, which leads to his lack of confidence when facing Cassandra. Draco Malfoy, no matter where you are, you can always cause trouble. Cassandra looked at Malfoy with disdain. He always shows off with his 2 followers, but they are just 3 pieces of trash composed of a trash plus 2 trash. Draco couldn't say a word. He really made a fool of himself again. Ethan, you also come to Hogwarts to study. Unlike Draco, who was ashamed and angry, Harry seemed quite happy when he saw Ethan. Although the relationship between the 2 could not be said to be very good, they were classmates for 2 years. Moreover, during the 2 years when he was a classmate of Ethan, Daly did not dare to come to the classroom to bully him. In this strange magical world, it is really great to meet acquaintances. Well, I am also a freshman at Hogwarts this year. Who is next to you? This is Ronald Weasley, a friend I just met, a child from a wizard family. Harry introduced his new friend readily. Enough. A mudblood from a muggle family, Crabbe, teach him a lesson. Draco was rejected by Harry for making friends, just ridiculed by Cassandra, and now ignored by muggle wizards. Draco completely exploded. Harry is the savior of the wizarding world and a celebrity. Cassandra can't afford to offend him. Even the stupid red-haired man is a member of the Weasley family and has Dumbledore's back. Although she looks down on them, she can't let herself control them. But what does this mudblood have? He has nothing. Bang. Quickly in prison. Everything happened too fast. Draco only saw Crabbe fall to the ground after being hit on the chin by a punch as soon as he stepped forward. Then the mudblood pulled out Crabbe's wand and pointed it at himself and Goyle. Ridiculous? Can you use other people's wands? But Draco suddenly found that he couldn't laugh anymore. Not only that, his whole body couldn't move. You should be thankful that this is the train to Hogwarts, and you are also a freshman at Hogwarts. Ethan came to Malfoy and patted his face, lowered his head and whispered in his ear. Then, he looked in the direction of Harry. They were looking for trouble with you just now, right? Now the 3 of them are handed over to you. You can deal with them as you like. They can't move. Leave it to me. I will treat them well. And what kind of magic did you just use? It's so cool. Ronald kicked Draco and said excitedly. Since his father's generation, he has been at odds with the Malfoy family. Now Draco is blessed to fall into his hands. And the magic just now, if I can learn it, it would be great. Compared with that, what my two brothers taught me was just a bunch of nonsense, which made me look bad in front of Harry. The imprisonment spell is in the textbook, didn't you read it? Hearing this, Harry and Ronald looked at each other and shook their heads together. Should we read textbooks during the holidays? The two who got the answer from each other quickly put this question behind them and started beating the Malfoy trio. Under Harry's guidance, Ronald knew where to hit more painfully, and it would not be discovered. This is all blood experience. The train will arrive at Hogwarts in 5 minutes. Please leave your luggage on the train and we will help you get to school. The announcement of the upcoming station began to echo on the train. The station is almost here. Ethan waved the wand in his hand, touching the imprisonment spell of the Malfoy trio, and then put the wand in Crabbe's pocket intimately. After all, the wand is innocent. The liberated Malfoy trio didn't dare to say a word and trotted out in shame. After a few more pleasantries, Ethan led his men to retreat. After all, they had to go back to the carriage to change into wizard robes. On the way back to the carriage, Hermione kept complaining that she shouldn't have come and that she had caused trouble before entering Hogwarts. Cassandra looked at Ethan's back without saying a word and was still thinking about how she would solve the problem if she put herself in Ethan's position just now. It's not difficult to hammer those 3 pieces of trash, but it won't be that fast. Although I know the imprisonment spell, can I release it so efficiently in the first time with someone else's wand? Episode 18, Retracing the Founder's Path. The train slowed down and stopped with a whistle. The little wizards pushed and shoved towards the side door and came to a small dark platform. Ethan, who had just got off the train, felt a chill. The Scottish Highlands in September had already entered autumn, and the night temperature had already dropped to single digits. Keep warm. He quickly cast a warming spell on himself, and Ethan felt a little more comfortable. The warming spell, a practical little magic, has the effect of keeping warm as its name suggests. It seems to be in the 3rd grade textbook. Keep warm. Naturally, he would not forget Hermione and others, and Ethan cast one for them in turn. Thank you. After Cassandra whispered a thank you, she separated from Ethan and his group and went in another direction. Like Draco, she also has her own pureblood friends, or it is more reliable to say that followers. But today, in order to enjoy a compartment alone, she did not stay with them. Unfortunately, she didn't get her wish. She didn't get a private compartment. Instead, she had to listen to the chattering for hours in a full box. It felt good. Now that she got off the train, she naturally had to return to the pureblood camp. She was the pride of the future Slytherin. First-year students, come over here and watch your feet. A giant over 3 meters tall, wide and fat, came over with an oil lamp. Although he looked honest, he still scared many freshmen back. Giant human hybrid, Hagrid. Ethan was curious about how his parents did it. Pure-blooded giants were taller than Hagrid, at least 4 meters tall, while normal human men were about 1.78 meters tall. His father seemed particularly thin. A small horse pulling a big cart? A toothpick stirring a big vat? TSK. The old students went to the other half, and the freshmen followed Hagrid. This road is not easy to walk. The path is narrow, steep, and slippery. It is pitch black on both sides. Only the light from Hagrid's lantern in front leads the way. At the end of the path is a dark lake, and on the hillside on the opposite bank stands a towering castle with sharp spires and windows flickering under the starry sky. Each boat cannot have more than 4 people. Ethan, Hermione, Neville, and an unknown little witch got on the same boat. Hannah Abbott, after introducing herself, I know that this is the famous Iron Hat King. However, as they get closer to the castle in front, Hermione and Neville feel more and more depressed. Hermione is so nervous that her palms are sweating. I wonder if I can be assigned to Gryffindor. Thanks to Dumbledore's influence and the publicity of a number of wizard novel magazines, wizards who don't know the situation all regard Gryffindor as the greatest college. The same is true for Hermione. However, she had no idea whether she could enter Gryffindor. My grandmother wants me to go to Gryffindor. My whole family is Gryffindor, but I don't know if I can get in. Neville was also quite discouraged. Courage, he didn't seem to have much to do with this word. If he could get into Hufflepuff, it would be great, but his grandmother expected him to get into Gryffindor. As for me, I want to go to Hufflepuff. Hannah Abbott smiled easily. Although her family hadn't told her what the sorting ceremony was like, they said that she would most likely go to Hufflepuff. The reason for choosing Hufflepuff was also very simple. First of all, most of her family members were Hufflepuffs. She grew up listening to Hufflepuff stories since she was a child, and she had already taken over the family tavern in the future. The Hufflepuff dormitory was closest to the kitchen and had the best relationship with the house elves. She could also learn a few tricks to add 2 specialties to the tavern in the future. Ethan, what about you? The 3 of them said their goals. Only Ethan remained silent. Hermione asked curiously. As a fellow from the Muggle world and a more talented guy than her, she wanted to hear Ethan's choice. Except for Slytherin, which cannot be admitted due to bloodline, the other 3 houses are all fine, and each has its own characteristics. Slytherin is generally for pure blood, and some half-bloods with good talents and ambitions can also enter, but those born in a completely Muggle family seem to be unable to enter. Of the remaining 3, Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff are both good choices. To be honest, I don't really want to enter Gryffindor. They're noisy and not as united as Hufflepuff, and the atmosphere is even worse than Hufflepuff. Ravenclaw can learn better, and they have their own exclusive library. As we all know, since Voldemort, the Library of Hogwarts has been collected by Dumbledore. Now it is a broken version of the library. Ravenclaw believes in wisdom and has a greedy and predatory nature for knowledge. Their exclusive library will not let Dumbledore mess around. You're saying nothing. Hermione was helpless in the face of Ethan's answer. As for you, Ravenclaw is actually the most suitable for you. Extraordinary wisdom is the greatest wealth of mankind. This is their slogan. Ethan tried to change the plot. To be honest, it was normal for Hermione to go to Gryffindor and be the target of exclusion before she became friends with Harry and Ronald. In a school where people like pranks, wizard chess, Quidditch, etc., but don't like to study, suddenly a good student came, and she likes to preach. Who would play with her? Especially this good student doesn't give us homework to copy, which is even more repulsive. I've thought about Ravenclaw, but I still think Gryffindor is better. Hermione still insisted on her point of view. The greatest wizards come from Gryffindor, so Gryffindor is naturally the best. This is similar to the Muggle world. If the school has enough celebrities and is famous enough, it can prove that the school is getting better and better. As they chatted, the boat passed the steep cliffs to the west and the curtains of ivy, and finally stopped at a pier. After landing, the people climbed through a tunnel in the rock and arrived at an open and wet meadow under the shadow of the towering castle. After Hagrid counted the number of people, he stepped onto a stone staircase, raised his huge fist, and knocked 3 times on the castle gate. The gate opened immediately, and Professor McGonagall, who had met before, walked out slowly. "Here are the first-year students, Professor McGonagall," Hagrid said seriously. "Thank you, Hagrid. I will take over next." Professor McGonagall politely returned to the camp, and then led the young wizards into the 1,000-year-old castle of Hogwarts. Episode 19, Sorting. Following Professor McGonagall, everyone came to a small empty house, rubbing shoulders with each other, staring at everything around nervously. The sorting was about to start, and most people were not in a relaxed mood. "Welcome to Hogwarts." Professor McGonagall looked at everyone and said seriously, "The opening banquet is about to begin, but before you go to the auditorium and take your seats, you must first confirm which college you will enter. In a few minutes, the sorting ceremony will be held in front of all the teachers and students of the school. When it is ready, I will come to pick you up. During this period, please keep quiet." After speaking, Professor McGonagall walked towards the direction of the auditorium. Until she left, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. After all, Professor McGonagall's serious face put a lot of pressure on everyone. How can they accurately sort us into which college? Ethan heard that this was Harry's voice. "Maybe we need to pass some kind of test. I heard from my brother that this test is very harmful to our bodies." Ronald showed off in front of Harry again. It's just that his memory is not very good. The twins have deceived him countless times, but Ronald still believes the twins' lies. With Harry and Ronald taking the lead, the urgency of the crowd was raised. One by one, they began to talk about the gossip they knew. Some said they would duel with trolls, and some said they would perform magic on the spot. There was also a group of purebloods who firmly believed that as long as they had noble blood and excellent talents, they would definitely be assigned to Slytherin. What is that? A panicked voice that overwhelmed the whole audience sounded, attracting everyone's attention. The scene immediately became silent, and no one dared to act rashly. They saw more than 20 pearly white, translucent ghosts suddenly jumped out of the wall. Ethan watched the ghosts' every move. He had been to Diagon Alley and Nocturne Alley many times during this period, but he had never seen a ghost once. This time he had a chance, so Ethan naturally had to observe carefully. I just don't know what the difference is between Voldemort's current state and these ghosts, or whether the method of making Horcruxes refers to the birth of ghosts. The only thing that can be confirmed is that these ghosts have no entity, but I don't know whether they can use magic. Facing Dementors, which are also considered as magical animals without entity, which side is more powerful? Can ordinary spells or dark magic work on these ghosts? The more Ethan thought about it, the more he wanted to get a ghost to do experiments. Move forward now. A sharp voice sounded. The sorting ceremony is about to begin. With the arrival of Professor McGonagall, these ghosts disappeared through the opposite wall. After organizing the formation, a group of young wizards followed Professor McGonagall out of the room, through the entrance hall, and then through a double door into the luxurious auditorium. At this time, students from other grades were sitting around 4 long tables according to their different colleges. Above the tables were thousands of candles floating in the air, which illuminated the entire auditorium. On the stage at the top of the auditorium, there was another long table, which was the seat for the professors. Sitting in the center was Dumbledore, wearing a luxurious dark blue robe, a flowing silver-white long hair with a small wizard hat, and a very well-trimmed long beard, and, of course, a long and crooked nose. Ethan and others were brought here by Professor McGonagall and lined up in a row, facing the 4 college students in front. After arranging all this, Professor McGonagall gently placed a 4-legged stool in front of the first-year freshmen. On the stool was a pointed wizard hat, which was patched, worn and dirty, and had a sense of history. Suddenly, the hat twisted, and a wide crack appeared on the edge of the hat, like a big mouth, and then it began to sing its annual self-entertainment with some strange melody. You may think I am not beautiful. After 7 or 8 minutes, the Sorting Hat finally completed its annual self-entertainment program and received applause from the audience, not because of how well it sang, but because everyone cooperated. Now I call whose name, who will immediately come forward to put on the hat and sit on the stool to wait for the sorting. Professor McGonagall took out the parchment and said to the little wizards, "The real show is finally here." Hannah Abbott. A ruddy-faced girl with 2 golden braids stumbled out of the queue. It was Hannah, who had just been on the same boat with Ethan and others. Obviously, she was super nervous at the moment. Put on the hat, and it took only a moment to hear the result. Hufflepuff. Ethan could clearly see that Hannah's nervous cheeks relaxed, and at the same time, the people at the table on the right really applauded and cheered for Hannah's arrival. Susan Bones. Similarly, the result came out soon. Hufflepuff. Susan, who got the result, was not disappointed and ran to Hannah and sat down happily. And the Badgers of Hufflepuff were even more excited, clapping desperately. With the arrival of 2 consecutive freshmen, the Hufflepuff family will continue its past glory this year and become the college with the most freshmen. As freshmen came forward one after another, the long tables of the 4 colleges below burst into amazing enthusiasm. Hermione Granger. Hearing her name, Hermione almost ran to the stool and hurriedly put the hat on her head. This time it took a little longer, but it was not to the point of being embarrassed. Gryffindor. After all, she went to Gryffindor. What happened next was no different from what Ethan remembered. Neville went to Gryffindor and Draco went to Slytherin. The atmosphere on the scene reached its peak when Harry Potter was sorted into Gryffindor. The cheers of the little lions almost overturned the roof of this 1,000-year-old castle. Cassandra Wally. The slender girl with golden curly hair walked out of the remaining team with graceful steps. Just when the hat just touched Cassandra's head, the Sorting Hat screamed, "Slytherin." Now it was the turn of the little snakes to cheer. This time it was not the perfunctory applause as before, but they were really changing their cheers. Episode 20, Ravenclaw. Ethan Adrian. The whole team was empty, and now only Ethan was left. He walked forward with a nonchalant look on his face, put on the hat and sat on the stool, ready to start his own sorting. Although he knew the unforgivable curse and had used the killing curse to harvest people's lives, he should be sent to Azkaban. But the Sorting Hat obviously did not read the memory to sort the wizards, but because it gathered the ideas of the 4 founders at the time, it sorted the wizards to the colleges that suited them. In this process, we can indeed understand some of the little wizards' ideas and their shining points, but that's all. For this, Ethan has undergone special training, that is, the transfer of thoughts, which is the most basic ability of brain occlusion. You have magic power far beyond your peers, extremely high talent for dark magic, and some ambitions, and you are greedy enough. You are really a good seedling. Sakura should be very happy to see you, but your ambition is a bit strange, but the other things are in line with it. I am not a pureblood, not even a half-blood. Can I enter Slytherin? Ethan asked with some curiosity. Of course it is possible, but in the past few hundred years, everyone has misunderstood the concept of Slytherin. The Slytherin of the past was ambitious, shrewd, valued honor, judged the situation, protected themselves, and victory was supreme. The regretful voice of the Sorting Hat sounded in Ethan's mind. It knew that the wizards had misunderstood, but it could not change it. Because this impression has been fixed, some wizards with this trait are unwilling to go to Slytherin, because it is already a gathering place for ambitious purebloods. These people often have nothing but ambition, but they just choose Slytherin. Although the Sorting Hat has the power to sort the houses, it cannot act completely on its own. It still has to consider the ideas of some young wizards, which is one of the reasons for the current situation. Actually, Azkaban is more suitable for you. I heard Dumbledore say that it is a gathering place for dark wizards and the cradle of dark magic. You will definitely achieve great success there. It's a pity that Azkaban is not included in Hogwarts. Some regretful voices sounded in Ethan's mind. Azkaban is a prison. Ethan was a little helpless. What's wrong with the prison? I once communicated with a professor of defense against the dark arts who returned to Hogwarts from Azkaban. He said that everyone there is talented and speaks well. I believe you will like it there too. The Sorting Hat was a little unconvinced. How could Ethan deny its judgment? The only pity is that Azkaban is not a Hogwarts school. I have heard Dumbledore sigh more than once that Azkaban has become a Hogwarts advanced class. So which school should I go to? I'll be with you for quite a while. Ethan didn't want to talk about Azkaban. What if those thoughts that can't be exposed are exposed? Why are you in a hurry? Sorting is a big deal and can't be rushed. The Sorting Hat's unhappy voice came. Okay, you continue. This is almost there, and he also has courage and adventurous spirit. Gryffindor is also quite suitable. Although the chivalry spirit is not very suitable, there is no perfect match these days. It's almost enough. Ravenclaw is not bad either, smart and wise and very thirsty for knowledge. Boy, if you want to go to that school, talk to your hat. The nagging voice of the Sorting Hat sounded in Ethan's mind. Where is Hufflepuff? I have a good impression of this college. Hufflepuff? Integrity, loyalty, hard work, honesty. Which one do you meet? Wouldn't it be a disaster for them if I let you in? No, absolutely not. The Sorting Hat rejected it on the spot. Although it had to refer to the little wizard's ideas, it couldn't be too outrageous. Ravenclaw. Before Ethan could say anything else, the Sorting Hat announced the result loudly. And left Ethan a message: your ambition can be perfectly realized in Ravenclaw. According to the aesthetics of wizards, that is the college with the most beauties. Warm applause sounded from the direction of Ravenclaw. Ethan's arrival made them particularly excited. This is a hat embarrassment, and it lasted for more than 10 minutes. And every hat embarrassment is not an ordinary wizard, such as the current Hogwarts Vice Principal Professor McGonagall. Arriving at the long table of Ravenclaw, Ethan greeted the seniors and classmates one by one. As expected, there are many girls in Ravenclaw, and many of them are beautiful. The Sorting Hat never deceived me. As Ethan stepped down, the sorting ceremony was completely over. Professor McGonagall put away the Sorting Hat and the four-legged stool and sat down next to Dumbledore. Now it was Dumbledore's turn. He looked at the students with a smile on his face and opened his arms. It seemed that nothing made him happier than seeing the students gathered together. Welcome. Welcome everyone to Hogwarts to start a new school year. Before the banquet begins, I want to say a few words, that is, idiot, crybaby, scum, Carrie. Thank you everyone. After he sat down again, everyone applauded and cheered. I don't know if they were applauding for Dumbledore or for the upcoming feast. Today's dinner can be said to be the most sumptuous in Hogwarts in a year, with roast beef, roast chicken, pork chops, lamb chops, sausages, steaks, boiled and baked potatoes, fried potatoes, potato chips, Yorkshire puddings. At this moment, even the picky little wizard can find his favorite food, not to mention that from Ethan's picky eyes, these foods taste really good. Ethan was almost done eating and started chatting with the pretty senior schoolmate next to him, Senior Clearwater. What does Dumbledore just said about idiots? Crybabies. Dregs. Twist. What exactly does that mean? It should be what each school thinks of other schools. Idiots. It means that our Ravenclaw wizards think they are the smartest, and students from other schools are idiots. Crybabies. It means that Gryffindor students think they are the most courageous, and students from other schools are cowards and like to cry babies. Dregs. Slytherin students think that they, the excellent purebloods, are the mainstream upper class in the wizarding world, and students from other schools are scraps and dregs. Twist. Hufflepuff students think they are loyal, upright, and united, while students from other schools are awkward and disunited. After thinking for a while, Penelope expressed her understanding. Penelope Clearwater, born in a Muggle family, is in the 5th grade this year. Thanks to her excellent grades and good management skills, she was just elected as the prefect this summer and is responsible for the reception of new students this year. In Ethan's eyes, Penelope is a good senior with brown hair, blue eyes, delicate face, and charming figure. Compared with flat girls like Cassandra and Hermione, Penelope is much more attractive. In the original book, there is only information that Penelope is 1 year younger than Percy, but they can be in the same grade. Harry is almost 1 year younger than Hermione. The twins are in the same grade as Cedric, but the twins are not old enough to participate in the Triwizard Tournament.